Welcome back to the deep dive. We take your sources, we dig in, and we pull out the knowledge, the insights, maybe even a few surprising facts. Today, we're embarking on a pretty extraordinary journey, actually. We've got some unique source material exploring identity, the sheer power of narrative, and the frankly chilling realities of a very highly controlled society.
That's right. These sources, they really pull you in. It's an immersive experience into a world where, well, truth is slippery, isn't it? Personal truth is fluid. And those lines between what's real and what's fabricated, they're constantly shifting, constantly blurred. So our mission today, really, is to unpack this incredibly intricate narrative. We want to see how individuals navigate a system that demands total conformity. Conformity even, at the cost of their own stories, their own histories.
Okay, let's dive in then. Our sources take us straight into North Korea. We meet this character whose life is just. It's a masterclass in survival and adaptation. We're going to trace his journey from an orphanage right into the heart of the regime's most secret operations, and then this really unexpected confrontation with American delegates. And you'll hear how this one man's identity gets constantly reshaped, not by choice, not at all, but by circumstance, by what the state demands.
The boy called Jun Do early life and unconventional missions.
So our deep dive begins in a really bleak place, an orphanage in Changchun, North Korea. That's where we meet a young boy, Jun Do. It's a stark start.
It really is. And what hits you immediately is the level of hardship. Extreme hardship. The sources describe this devastating famine. Pyongyang loudspeakers call it the arduous march, euphemistically.
Right.
But the locals, they just call it everything because it affected everything. The details are grim.
Yeah.
Boys eating boiled sawdust, old people just going to sleep. The harbor ropey with corpses. Okay, yeah.
Unimaginable. And Jun Do, he's only 14. He gets shipped off by the orphan master, along with the last dozen boys, to the army. They're put on this old Soviet truck, the Sir, nicknamed the Crow. Grim name.
Very fitting.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. He becomes a tunnel soldier, trained in zero-light combat under the DMZ. So operating in total darkness against South Korean soldiers, the ROK soldiers, who apparently had infrared night vision goggles.
Right. Think about that. Complete darkness versus technology designed to see in the dark. And this raises that question right away. What is identity in a world like this? Jun Do doesn't even believe he's truly an orphan. He thinks it was a mistake, some bureaucratic glitch. But that label, it defines his entire existence from that point on. That tension between who he thinks he is inside and how the state classifies him, that's a thread that runs through everything.
So from these tunnels, he gets moved again, assigned to these, well, unusual missions.
Very unusual. Officer, so he's a veteran of these plucking operations, abductions, basically. He recruits Jun Do for sea-based kidnappings off the coast of Japan.
And the orders are just kidnap anyone, as long as they were alone.
Yeah, incredibly vague. And the sources paint this stark contrast, don't they? Japan with its downtown neon, fishermen with tattoos of their wives.
Right.
Versus North Korea with those constant loudspeaker broadcasts droning on. If you look at the bigger picture here, these plucking missions, they really highlight the regime's desperation and maybe a kind of grim resourcefulness. Officer even talks about the past when things were more organized, more cherry-picking. He says he's the only one left who remembers how it used to be done. So the haphazard nature now, just grabbing anyone, it really underscores how dire things must have become.
And we see one mission go wrong, badly wrong, on a Japanese beach. There's a translator, Gil, who also turns out to be an orphan, even though he denied it. They kidnap an abalone diver, Jun Do, uses this brutal scissors choke, and then later a woman from a pier.
And that detail about the woman, it's chilling. She falls silent, not a word or even the snatching of a breath.
And her phone rings with a picture of a baby on the screen.
Yeah, that just, it grounds the horror in such a personal, poignant way. The human cost.
The fishing vessel and the American encounter.
Okay, so after these abduction missions, Jun Do's life takes another turn. He's sent to language school, English this time. Then he gets transferred again. Now he's at a listening post, but it's on a fishing vessel, the Jinma, out in the East Sea.
Right, so a shift in tactics. From grabbing people to gathering intelligence, surveillance, and his quarters are described vividly. The steel room, typewriter, receivers scavenged from downed American planes, the floor slick with fish water. It sounds incredibly isolating.
Definitely. And he's monitoring fishing captains, ferries, but also, unexpectedly, these two American women who are apparently rowing around the world. He hears their transmissions every night.
Strange detail, isn't it? These tiny voices from another world reaching his isolated post.
And this is where things get really dramatic. The Junma has this major encounter with an American frigate. Why? Because they accidentally caught a net full of Nikes, American shoes.
Nikes, the ultimate symbol of Western capitalism, right there in their net.
The crew, especially the second mate, they're ecstatic. These are valuable. But, catching American military contraband, that invites trouble.
Big trouble.
Yeah.
And the interaction that follows with the U.S. Navy, it's just a massive clash of worlds, of perceptions. The American officer, Jervis, he asks about a fire extinguisher, and he's just baffled they don't have a life raft. Basic safety. It highlights the different realities they live in.
Yeah.
And then the American sailors are on the radio, openly mocking Kim Jong-il, which is just unthinkable for the North Koreans. That stark contrast between reverence and ridicule.
And then it escalates. Fast. The second mate, he's full of this revolutionary fervor, grabs a sharking knife, holds it to an American sailor's throat just for wearing the captain's hat.
Crazy moment. Pure ideology overriding common sense.
Rifles get unslung on the American ship. And Jun Do, all that training, he freezes, just freezes.
And the captain is furious with him afterwards, really lays into him. He says, you could have said you were a reporter, studying shrimp, anything.
Yeah.
Just make up a story.
Like the need for a narrative.
Exactly. It's all about survival through narrative. The captain even condemns the Americans, saying people don't mean anything to them, anything at all. And then he dumps those valuable Nikes overboard. Why? To avoid suspicion. To manage the appearance, control the story for the regime back home. That's paramount.
Jun Do's recovery and the second mate's wife.
So after that intense encounter, Jun Do is badly injured. He ends up recovering in the home of the second mate's wife, and she believes her husband died a hero. This part of the story gives us a more intimate look at daily life, but always with those loudspeakers in the background.
Yeah, the contrast is really striking. You go from this high-stakes violence at sea to this quiet, almost mundane domestic scene. She's tending his wounds, changing sheets, dealing with basic bodily needs. It's very grounded. But even there, in that private space, you can't escape the state. The loudspeakers are always on, announcing dear leader's wisdom, new ways to avoid starving. It underscores how pervasive the control is.
And Jun Do finds out the truth about the second mate, the heroic story, completely fabricated.
A total lie, constructed by the captain.
The reality was brutal. He was shot, dragged into the sea, sharks everywhere. His last words were apparently, praise for the dear leader.
Which just shows how deep the indoctrination goes, even at the moment of death. But the captain's reasoning for the lie is fascinating. He says basically, if Pyongyang thinks an American kidnapping happened, they'll never let it go. They'll investigate, push, and eventually the real story, the Nikes, the incompetence will come out.
So the fake heroic story is actually safer for everyone involved.
Safer for the captain, certainly. It protects him. It highlights how the regime uses individual fates, twists personal tragedy into propaganda whenever it suits them. It's instrumental.
And the wife. She has her own fears, doesn't she? She talks about the ban on stargazing, which is such a strange, specific detail.
It is. Maybe symbolizing a ban on dreaming, on looking beyond the immediate reality.
And she talks about replacement husbands. She's terrified of being given away to some old party official, especially because she says she's no virgin and headstrong.
Right. It shows how the state's control reaches right into marriage, into personal relationships. Conformity is expected everywhere.
So when these men in suits show up to take Jun Do away, she makes this desperate plea.
Tell him you're marrying me.
Yeah, just grasping for any way to control her own fate, however small. It really shows the utter lack of agency.
The making of Commander Gale and the Potemkin, Texas.
Okay, so the men in suits arrive. Jun Do is taken away. This feels like a major turning point. His identity is about to shift again, drastically.
Oh, completely. This is where the state actively steps in to mold him into someone entirely new. It's a literal, orchestrated transformation. We meet Dr. Song and Comrade Bochet. They oversee the whole process. Physical changes, narrative changes, everything.
He gets a new suit, a new name, Commander Ga, and he's told, basically, fists are out, words are in. His words are his weapon now.
A complete rebranding, like you said, from tunnel soldier and kidnapper to, well, something else entirely.
And this something else involves creating a Potemkin, Texas. What on earth is that?
Huh. Yeah, it's an incredible concept. A Potemkin village, for anyone listening who doesn't know, is basically a fake front. Something built just to impress visitors, to hide the real, usually less impressive reality.
Okay.
So they build this elaborate fake Texas ranch in Pyongyang, their mission, to impress visiting American delegates.
And the details are wild. A lodgepole corral, mesquite fences, they put eels in a fishing pond, captured poisonous snakes for target practice.
Yep, gift baskets with puppy calfskin gloves,
Yeah.
snake whiskey, tiger jerky. They even got a chuck wagon from a Japanese theme park.
That's commitment to the bit.
It really is. And the deer leader's instructions are so specific, so revealing. He says, yes, the Americans are going to see that we can make their guns only bigger and more powerful. We are going to serve them American biscuits, but they will discover that Korean corn is more hearty, that honey from Korean bees is more sweet.
So it's not about connection, it's about one-upmanship, projecting superiority.
Exactly. It's pure performance. All about showing they can beat the Americans at their own game, even down to the biscuits and honey. It's not about genuine engagement at all.
So the Americans arrive, Senator Tommy, a homeland contractor named Wanda, and there's this immediate culture clash, right? Discussions about democracy.
And Wanda seems pretty sharp. Her specialty is analyzing fortified bunkers, so she's trained to see beneath the surface.
And she notices Jun Do's tattoo, the tattoo of Sun Moon, the famous actress.
Right. And Jun Do, now Commander Gaz, instinctively lies. Says Sun Moon is his wife, just comes up with a narrative on the spot to explain it. Survival instinct kicking in.
And Wanda gives him something interesting. A camera.
Yeah, special camera, sends pictures straight to a satellite, no internal memory. She says they were made for Iraq. She says, I give them to locals, people who are friendly. When they think I need to see something, they take a picture of it.
Wow. So that's a potential crack in the wall, a way for information to get out.
A very subtle one.
Yeah.
But yes, a potential moment of actual information exchange, hidden within this giant fabricated reality.
The deer leader's narrative and the climax.
Okay, so this whole elaborate Texas charade, it leads to a really tense climax, doesn't it? The deer leader, he seems obsessed with his own story, his own gifts. He wants to humiliate the Americans.
Utterly obsessed. Everything has to fit his narrative. He plans these counter gifts like rhinoceros horn bookends, specifically aiming to inflict pain, as the source says.
Inflict pain with bookends.
Symbolically, yes. It's about psychological dominance. And he reveals his bigger plan, this exchange at the airport. He wants the Americans to return something they stole. And it becomes clear he means the pretty rower, the American woman Jun Do, was monitoring on the Junma.
The one rowing around the world.
That's the one. He doesn't want to give her back. He actually says he wants to have two bad girls. It just shows how people are seen as objects, possessions, pawns in his game.
But the Americans aren't stupid. The senator, Wanda, they figure out that Commander Ga isn't who he says he is. They see through the deception.
They do. The senator confronts Commander Jun Do directly, tells him no boat is safe now, and they'll never see his precious toy again, meaning the rower. It's a clear threat. Retaliation.
So the whole Potemkin, Texas thing, it completely failed with the actual Americans.
Utterly futile. They saw the string, saw the performance for what it was. The real power dynamic asserts itself, and the deer leader is forced to just dismantle the whole set, moves the Texas ranch to an airport hangar. The illusion has shattered.
Which leads us to the airport climax.
Yeah.
It sounds chaotic, violent.
Extremely. Commander Park tries to stop a forklift driven by Comrade Bulek. And on the forklift, barrels with human shapes inside.
Human shapes.
The implication is it's the hidden food aid the regime didn't want seen, and also thousands of small Bibles, shrink-wrapped. Contraband being moved under cover of the diplomatic incident.
Wow, so it's all falling apart.
It is. And the deer leader needs to maintain control of the narrative, even amidst the chaos, maybe especially amidst the chaos. Jun Do, or Commander Ga, gives a command to the dog, Brando. Hunt. Hunt, Commander Park.
The dog attacks.
Viciously. Great gouts of dog blood, the source says. It's brutal, but this deliberate chaos creates a diversion.
And the rower.
The girl rower sees her chance, runs hysterically towards the American plane. Freedom, right there, amidst the violence.
So how does the state spin this? What's the official story afterwards?
Well, that's where the loudspeakers come in again. The official story crowns Sun Moon, the actress whose image Jun Do is tattooed with, as the hero.
Sun Moon. But she wasn't even really central to this part.
Doesn't matter. The narrative demands a North Korean hero. So they say she bravely resisted the Japanese conflating Americans with Japanese, perhaps saved the national flag. They even reference famous scenes from her movies Woman of a Nation, Motherless Fatherland, to reinforce her image of purity, patriotism.
Incredible. Just completely rewriting reality.
Exactly. It brings us right back to that core theme. manufactured reality. The same loudspeakers that announced the famine now broadcast the best North Korean story, a story of love and sorrow, faith and endurance, and of course, the dear leader's unending dedication.
And Jun Do, Commander Ga, his actual experience.
Erased, or rather absorbed. He becomes just another part of this grand fabricated state narrative, regardless of what actually happened, regardless of his suffering.
And the final image.
Yeah.
Ga clinging to the wing of the American jet as it takes off.
Yeah. Desperately trying to protect Sun Moon, who is on the plane. He's injured, fighting the wind, writing slogans, messages of love backwards in his own blood on the window.
While inside, the Americans are stripping Sun Moon of her North Korean costumes, giving her back her own clothes.
A different kind of transformation. A reclamation, perhaps. Symbolizing a different kind of freedom, maybe a more authentic one, even as God performs his final desperate act within the regime's narrative framework. Outro.
Wow. That brings us to the end of this really intense deep dive. What we've explored here is just, it's a world where your name, your identity, your whole history, it's not yours. It can be assigned, bought, stolen, completely made up by the state.
Exactly. The sources lay bare this chillingly effective system, where the only truth that matters is the narrative that serves the dear leader. People like Jun Do, forced into the role of Commander Ga, they're just actors in this never-ending state-run play. Their real suffering, their resilience, mostly invisible.
Except maybe to you listening now.
Yeah.
You've gotten a glimpse into that deeper hidden story. So what's the takeaway here for you? When you think about this, we live in a world flooded with information, with narratives. How do you figure out what's real, what's authentic? Especially when powerful forces, even governments, are trying to shape the story. This deep dive into these excerpts from The Orphan Master's Son, it's a stark reminder of how powerful stories are.
Like the real ones and the manufactured ones.
Yeah. How they shape our lives, how we understand freedom, how we even understand ourselves. It leaves us with, I think, a pretty provocative question to mull over. If your life was just a story being told, who would hold the pen? Who would be the storyteller? And what truth? What version of you would they choose to tell?